Welcome to the Luxygen channel, the exciting space where people go to get their fix in the Luxygen world of billionaires, luxury, finance, and inspirational fulfillment. Be sure to like, smash the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel as we will be uploading Luxygen-rich videos frequently. Thank you for joining us today for an insider's look at Japan's $64 billion bullet train of the future that will revolutionize travel and cut commute time. This is a bullet train, otherwise known as Shinkansen in Japan. It has you covered if you need to get somewhere in the country quickly. It's an engineering marvel that's carried more than 10 billion passengers at speeds of up to 320 kilometers per hour, and it's aided in the creation of the world's third largest economy. But that isn't enough for Japan, which is now working on the world's fastest passenger train, a system that will travel twice as fast as bullet trains and cut journey times in half by eliminating one rather basic component: wheels. These new trains will float 10 centimeters above the ground thanks to magnetic levitation, minimizing the friction caused by contact with the rails. However, the new route has been highly divisive, with delays and construction costs soaring. Costs are high, and there is heated debate about environmental issues. Now that the project is nearing completion, the world is watching to see if it will hover beyond its hurdles and achieve a quantum leap in transportation, or if it will prove to be a step too far. Japan has a good understanding of trains. With the completion of the Taiko Shinkansen line between Tokyo and Osaka in 1959, Japan was the first country in the world to develop high-speed rails. The Japanese people, and indeed rest of the world, were dubious of Japan's large investment in the rail at that time, and many believed it would quickly become obsolete in the exciting new era of air travel and motorways. Nonetheless, the first high-speed line debuted in October 1964, just in time for Tokyo's inaugural Olympic Games. It reduced the time it takes to travel between Japan's two largest cities from about 7 hours to just under 4 hours. In less than 3 years, the line served more than 100 million people, proving its tremendous success. The same journey takes 2.5 hours on a modern bullet train. When the new Chuo Shinkansen line is finished, it will take 67 minutes to travel. The Chuo Shinkansen trains will travel at a top speed of 500 kilometers per hour, while a test run in 2015 set a world record of 603 kilometers per hour. Now, it's pretty widely agreed that those kinds of speeds are basically impossible for a conventional bullet train to hit. They eventually all become limited by the friction that's created by their wheels. To solve the problem, Japanese engineers looked back in time to a technology that has actually been around since the early 1900s: the magnetic levitation, also known as maglev. In truth, maglev train designs date back to the 1960s, and the world's first, and so far only, commercial maglev line, which runs between Shanghai's city center and airport, has been in operation since 2004. Using superconducting magnets, the Central Japanese Railway Company, or JR Central, has modernized this technology. Trains can levitate higher above the tracks, thanks to electromagnets that are cooled to -269 degrees. However, the trains must be moving at a high speed before the magnets can be installed. Maglev kicks in when the train reaches 150 kilometers per hour on its own, and the carriage is lifted off its rubber wheels, while the train then interacts with a set of coils in the track, one of which is used to levitate the train's mass, and the other of which is used to propel it ahead. The carriages can now travel at extraordinary speeds without the wheels. The trains are also totally self-contained, controlled by the track rather than a driver, which the company claims reduces the likelihood of collisions or accidents. Since 2014, the Tokyo-Nagoya line has been under development, and it is scheduled to open in 2027. A second extension connecting Tokyo and Osaka will begin construction immediately after that and open in 2037, 10 years ahead of plan. Unlike existing bullet trains, which run parallel to the Japanese coast, the Chuo Shinkansen will be 90% subterranean, crossing through the Southern Alps. A total of 256 kilometers of the 285-kilometer railway will be tunneled. The reason for this are twofold. First, maglev trains perform better when traveling in the straightest line possible, and tunneling beneath the mountains avoids Japan's earthquake-prone shoreline. However, as a result of this strategy, JR Central has dug some of the deepest tunnels Japan has ever seen. This has sparked a slew of environmental worries, particularly in Shizuoka Prefecture, where digging threatens the Oi River Basin, a vital source of water for the region. While environmental studies have found that the risk of disturbing the basin is low, local governments have criticized these reports as insufficient and hasty, and the incumbent governor of Shizuoka ran on a platform opposing the railway, winning an election in June 2021, in which the Chuo Shinkansen was a major issue. The project's cost has risen from $13.7 billion to $64 billion as a result of the controversy and unexpected changes in the construction of new stations, making it one of the most expensive mega projects ever undertaken in the country. Many in Japan are already questioning if the new line is really worth it because of its exorbitant price tag. There are a few disadvantages to Japan's maglev system. It will be more expensive to operate than normal high-speed trains once it is completed, since it consumes more energy. However, you could argue that it will permit more economic growth. The trains will also be unable to transport as many passengers due to their smaller carriages and will be less frequent. On the Tokyo-Osaka line, traditional bullet trains run every 3 minutes. Because maglev track switching takes longer, a maglev train will only be able to run once every 10 minutes. Previously, Japanese rail companies have been able to recoup a significant amount of money by selling their technologies elsewhere. Since the introduction of the first bullet train in 1964, however, a notable new participant has emerged on the scene: China. It is now the world's king of high-speed rail, with 2/3 of the world's high-speed network based in the country. Despite the fact that none of its intercity lines are maglev, China is developing its own version of the technology. It tested a maglev train that reached 600 kilometers per hour in July 2021, almost beating Japan's record. The railway could theoretically travel from Beijing to Shanghai in 3.5 hours, compared to 4.5 hours by plane. China does not need to purchase Japanese technology, while the rest of the developed world is still catching up with conventional high-speed rail. So why is Japan so adamant about constructing this maglev line? And why did the government provide JR Central a loan to complete it in 10 years ahead of schedule? If the Chuo Shinkansen is a success, it has the potential to reduce the distance between the country's two main cities, effectively connecting the Tokyo and Osaka regions. It's a prize that's gaining popularity across the world. China's Pearl River Delta is being transformed into megacities by properly positioned infrastructure, while the lines between cities in the northeastern United States, from Washington, D.C. to Boston, are becoming increasingly blurred. In Western Europe, the situation is similar. Combining huge cities in this way has the potential to build economic powerhouses on a never-before-seen scale. The world laughed at the bullet train when it was initially built more than half a century ago. However, it enabled Japan to develop by connecting regions and sharing prosperity. Japan grew from a 10% of the size of the US economy to the world's second-largest economy in the decade following its opening. Of course, we'll have to wait and see if this new line can propel the country forward. Moving people between cities in record time, on the other hand, would open up an entirely new universe. Tell us what you think about Japan's new bullet train and how you see transportation changing in the years to come. Thank you for joining us for this Insider Access preview of Japan's new and improved bullet train of the future, and how it will revolutionize travel and commute times in Japan and possibly the world over. Stay tuned to the LuxyGen channel, where we will feature more content about living life luxuriously. Don't forget that by liking this clip, as well as subscribing within our channel and clicking on that notification bell button, not only are you helping us grow, but also other people around the world.